Greetings, dear dreamers. I am Whispers of the Night, and I've come to keep you company as you journey toward sleep. I know this video is your companion at bedtime, helping you unwind and let go of the day. But before we drift into the tale, take a moment to like the video and subscribe so we can meet again in future nights. And tell me, where in the world are you listening from? What hour does the night find you in? You arrive at a cabin deep in the woods, the kind of place that smells like pine needles and old stories whispered by the wind. The silence here is absolute, the kind that fills your ears until every tiny sound becomes a shout. There's a stillness to the forest, a perfect pause in the chaos you left behind. Scientists tell us that being alone in nature can slow your heartbeat and sharpen your senses, which is why you notice the scratching so clearly. But it's not the wind. No gust could rattle the branches when the trees are perfectly still. The scratching is too deliberate, too rhythmic, like nails lightly tapping on glass. Local folklore speaks of the Watchers, shadowy figures said to haunt places like these, waiting just beyond the edge of sight. People say they watch travelers, unseen but always present, especially when the rain begins to fall. And here, on this rainy night, you feel their gaze piercing through the dark. Experts still debate whether these sensations are tricks of the mind, hallucinations born from solitude and anticipation, or whether something else truly lurks just beyond the veil of our understanding. You lay back on the creaky wooden bed, the rain tapping a gentle rhythm against the roof, and you listen carefully. The scratching grows louder, closer, and your pulse quickens, not with fear, but with the thrilling uncertainty of what might be waiting just outside the window. You try to tell yourself it's nothing but a branch or a bird, yet the air feels charged as if the night itself holds its breath, waiting for you to discover what's really out there. You blink, and in the shadowed corner of your vision, you think you see a shape, brief and shifting like smoke. It could be a trick of the light or a restless dream just beginning to take shape. But one thing is certain: you are not as alone here as you hoped. The morning light filters weakly through the thick canopy as you step onto the porch, the forest air still cool and heavy with dew. Your boots press into the soft earth, and there, just at the edge of the porch, something catches your eye. Footprints, not the delicate prints of a rabbit or the scurry of a squirrel, but unmistakably human and much larger than yours. The mud is still damp, the prints fresh, as if someone had just been standing here watching you sleep. Isolated places like this often play tricks on the mind. Without the constant noise of city life, your brain fills the silence with sounds and shapes that may or may not be there. It's well documented that solitude can heighten awareness but also increase anxiety, making you question what's real. Yet here they are, those footprints leading from the woods right up to your doorstep. According to some old tales, footprints found in strange places are said to belong to the woodwalkers, elusive spirits or creatures who roam the forests at night, unseen but ever present. They leave behind signs not to scare but to warn, or perhaps to invite, depending on the story you hear. You chuckle softly at the thought. Ghostly foot traffic? Now that's a commuting issue you didn't expect. Experts still debate whether these footprints are the result of natural phenomena, like animals misinterpreted by the mind, or something far more unsettling, echoes of footsteps that aren't meant to be there at all. You kneel down, tracing the shape with your fingers, careful not to disturb the imprint. They're too precise, too deep, and the spacing is deliberate, not the random scatter you'd expect from wildlife. Your breath catches as you follow the trail with your eyes, leading from the dense trees, across the porch, and your heart skips, a direct path to your bedroom window. The sight sends a cold shiver down your spine. Someone has been close enough to peer inside, maybe even watching you while you slept. You rise slowly, every sense alert now. The silence around you feels less like peace and more like a held breath. Somewhere in the distance, a crow caws sharply, breaking the stillness, but it only serves to deepen your unease. You imagine the scratch of nails, the faintest whisper of movement just beyond the glass. The cabin suddenly feels smaller, more confined. Outside, the rain begins again, a steady drizzle that blurs the edges of the world and muffles sound. The wet earth beneath your feet seems to pulse with a secret energy. You're caught between the natural beauty of this place and the unsettling signs that something or someone has crossed your path. As you step back inside, you glance once more at the window. The footprints remain, stubborn and silent, a reminder that the forest's peace is fragile and that the watchers are never far. The rain drums steadily against the windshield as you sit beside a driver whose eyes never seem to leave the road ahead. You notice the peculiar way the raindrops slide down his side of the car, slow, reluctant, almost frozen in place, while on your side, the water streaks down in a relentless hurry. Something about it feels off, like a subtle glitch in the fabric of the night. Rain, of course, is a perfect backdrop for stories like this. It isolates you, muffles sound, and paints the world in muted, blurred shades. Science tells us that rainfall can create a calming effect on the nervous system, which is why many people find the sound so soothing. But when it acts strangely, like freezing or falling sideways, local legends call it the weeping sky, a sign that something unnatural is afoot. Some say it's the weather crying for those lost between worlds. Experts still debate whether these odd weather patterns are just atmospheric quirks, or whether they could be manifestations of something deeper, a blurring line between reality and the supernatural. You listen to the rhythmic swish of the wipers, trying to focus on the road ahead, but your thoughts wander. The car's interior smells faintly of damp leather and pine air freshener, a sharp contrast to the chill crawling down your spine. Your driver is quiet, his voice low and vague when he speaks. There's a tension in the air, an unspoken story behind his eyes. You want to ask where you're going, but something holds you back, like the rain outside has wrapped you in a cocoon of uncertainty. Outside, the world is a watery blur, trees bending under the weight of the storm. The rhythm of the rain becomes a metronome for your racing heart. Shadows flicker in the corners of your vision, and every time you glance at the rearview mirror, you swear there's something watching you from the back seat, just beyond sight. Your mind flickers to tales you've heard, of ghostly hitchhikers who vanish at dawn, of drivers trapped in loops of endless road with no escape. There's a chill to the night, deeper than the temperature. You remind yourself that in rural areas, night driving demands extra caution, empty roads, wildlife crossings, and the ever-present threat of isolation. But this feels different. You force a laugh, the sound thin and brittle. Maybe it's just the rain messing with my head, you say quietly, hoping the driver can't hear the tremor. But as you glance once more at the stubborn, static drops on his window, you realize some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. Not tonight, anyway. The rain keeps falling, steady and unyielding, as the car slips deeper into the dark, and you wonder if you'll ever reach a place where the strange quiet of the storm won't follow you. The phone rings, cutting through the stillness of the night like a sudden gasp. You hesitate before answering, half expecting silence, but instead a voice cracks through, the kind of desperate, shaky voice that makes your skin crawl. "Please, you have to help me," the caller whispers, panic dripping from every word. The building they're trapped in is supposed to be empty, abandoned even, but the sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, echoes faintly in the background. In isolated rural areas, phone lines can carry odd noises, thanks to atmospheric interference or old wiring. It's a fact that often makes you second-guess the voices you hear late at night. But this isn't interference. It's real. You listen carefully, heart pounding, as the voice describes shadows moving just beyond the flickering lights, doors opening on their own, and a feeling of being watched that won't relent. Folklore speaks of restless spirits trapped within empty buildings, unable to move on, their voices sometimes catching on phone lines as a cry for help, or a warning. Some say these calls are a bridge between worlds, fleeting but unmistakable. You try to steady your breathing, wondering if you're the only one hearing this, or if others have been pulled into the same eerie web. Experts still debate whether these late-night calls are manifestations of sleep paralysis, hallucinations, psychic phenomena, or simply the brain's desperate attempt to make sense of silence. You don't have time to ponder. The voice on the line is trembling now, begging for rescue, and you can almost hear the shadowy presence drawing nearer, swallowing the light. Your own pulse races as the line suddenly goes dead, leaving behind a ringing silence that presses against your ears. You sit frozen, the rain outside drumming in time with your heartbeat, wondering if you just heard a cry for help or something far darker reaching out from the void. You set the phone down slowly, glancing around the empty room as if expecting the shadows themselves to step forward from the corners. The quiet stretches, but you know it's only the calm before the storm. The sudden shift in the air makes you freeze. There, just beyond the doorway, a figure stands, eyes black as the void, absorbing every sliver of light, staring right through you. Your breath catches. It's as if the darkness itself took shape, an absence where eyes should be. The room grows colder, heavier. You'd expect the silence to crack, but it only deepens, pressing in. In the quiet of isolated places, people often report seeing black-eyed figures, beings thought to be spirits or entities crossing the boundary between worlds. Folklore warns they are watchers, silent observers with intentions unknown. Some say these eyes aren't empty, but mirrors reflecting your own fears back at you. You chuckle softly, though it's more of a nervous twitch than amusement. Experts still debate whether these black-eyed sightings are linked to neurological phenomena, like hypnagogic hallucinations during sleep transitions, or genuine encounters with something beyond comprehension. You want to believe it's your mind playing tricks, but the undeniable weight in the air tells a different story. The figure's head snaps up suddenly, unnaturally jerky like a puppet with tangled strings. Hair falls away from its face, revealing an otherworldly presence that defies all reason. Its mouth opens, but the voice that spills forth isn't coming from where you expect. An eerie, disembodied whisper, the same chilling tone you heard on the phone. You stumble backward, heart pounding like a drum in the night. The darkness around you feels alive, shifting and twisting. You want to flee, but your feet seem glued to the floor. The black-eyed visitor watches silently, waiting, patient and eternal. Outside, the rain continues its steady percussion, a gentle lullaby that clashes with the chaos inside your chest. The shadows press closer, and you realize that sometimes the scariest things are the ones that don't scream. They wait. You wake to the unsettling crunch of muddy footsteps inside your home. Impossible. You think, the window was closed last night, wasn't it? Yet there they are. Fresh footprints marring the carpet, leading inward like a sinister invitation. Your heart thuds painfully against your ribs as you peer into the dim room, shadows pooling in every corner. Living alone in remote places means becoming acutely aware of every creak, every breath of wind. Your mind, sharpened by solitude, catches the smallest disturbance. Psychology suggests that in isolation, even familiar sounds can morph into threats, heightening vigilance or tipping into paranoia. But these prints are real. They carry the weight of another's presence. Local tales warn of shadow stalkers, entities who slip through cracks and open windows, moving unseen but leaving traces like these. Some say they're drawn to quiet places where fear lingers, their footprints the only proof of their passing. You can't help but wonder if the footprints belong to such a thing, or simply a trespasser with darker intentions. Experts still debate whether these intrusions are real or manifestations of stress-induced hallucinations. But the evidence beneath your feet is undeniable. You grab the nearest object, your trusty lamp, and hold it like a lifeline. The air is thick with tension as you listen for the slightest noise. Suddenly, footsteps come again, uneven and cautious but closing in. You swing the lamp with trembling hands, the impact cracking sharply against something solid. The figure stumbles, releasing your wrist. Your breath catches, raw and ragged. Without hesitation, you dash for the door, fumbling with the lock as panic bubbles up. Behind you, curses and unsteady footsteps follow. You don't look back. The night swallows you whole as you burst out into the hallway, heart pounding but alive. Outside, the rain masks your escape, washing away the footprints and the fear, but you know they'll be back, because some visitors don't leave so easily. You find yourself standing before a hallway that stretches endlessly, doors lining both sides like silent sentinels watching your every step. The floorboards creak beneath your feet. but the sound is swallowed by the vastness. No matter how far you walk, the corridor refuses to end, folding in on itself like a twisted dream. Your hands tremble as shadows dart just beyond your vision, whispering secrets you can't quite hear. In deep solitude, time and space seem to bend. Psychologists call this time dilation, or spatial distortion, where isolation warps perception. It's why people trapped in unfamiliar places report hallways that stretch forever, or rooms that rearrange themselves. It's unsettling but strangely fascinating. You chuckle quietly at the absurdity. If this were a dream, you'd be annoyed by the cliché. Folklore speaks of liminal spaces, thresholds between realities where the normal rules don't apply, and those who wander there risk becoming lost forever. Some say haunted houses have corridors that shift, trapping souls between walls. Experts still debate whether such experiences are purely psychological or evidence of actual supernatural phenomena. You feel the weight of both possibilities pressing down. You try the doorknobs, but each door is locked tight, the wood cold and unyielding. Whispered voices seep through the cracks, low and urgent, speaking in unison. You can't leave. This is where we belong now. The words resonate deep inside you, stirring memories not your own, flashes of previous visits, dozens, maybe hundreds, all ending here. Your knees weaken, and you sink to the floor, the cold wood seeping through your clothes. The truth claws its way into your mind. You never really left. The cross-country trip, the escape, they were illusions. You are trapped in a looping nightmare, caught in a place where the past and present blur and merge. Outside, rain continues to fall softly, but it cannot wash away the endlessness of this hall. You whisper to yourself, a ghost among ghosts, waiting for a way out that may never come. You burst from the endless hallway and find yourself plunged into the dense woods, the night air cool and heavy with the scent of pine and earth. Branches whip at your face as you run blindly, lungs burning and heart pounding in frantic rhythm. Behind you, a voice calls out, a rough, cold warning that chills you deeper than the biting wind. No use running, it says. Nowhere to go but the water or the woods, and trust me, you don't want either. In forested isolation, you learn quickly that the quiet is deceptive. Nature's peace can shift on a dime, becoming a hunting ground for predators, human or otherwise. Scientific studies show that solitude can heighten your fear response, making every snap of a twig sound like a gunshot. It's primal, protective, and sometimes maddening. Old legends speak of the stalker in the woods, a shadow that follows the lost, never speaking but always present, waiting to claim its prey. Some say it's a spirit bound to the forest floor, others a malevolent force born of human fear. You let out a nervous chuckle, but it's swallowed by the night. Experts still debate whether such creatures are psychological projections shaped by fear and isolation, or actual entities rooted in folklore and eyewitness accounts. You don't have time to ponder as you crash through underbrush, branches slapping your skin, breath ragged and uneven. You glance back and catch a glimpse of eyes, glowing, unblinking, impossibly dark, fixing you with terrible intent. The voice echoes, in your mind, haunting your dreams. You don't stop running, not even when your legs scream for relief, because some fears don't fade when dawn breaks. Nature's serenity has been replaced by a gnawing terror, a reminder that even the quietest places can harbor the darkest secrets. The rain taps steadily on the leaves, a rhythm to your frantic escape, but you know deep down that the woods remember, and whatever hunts you wait still. You sit alone in the deserted hotel lobby, clutching a mysterious package that feels heavier. With each passing minute, the stale air smells faintly of mildew and old carpets, a scent that somehow makes the silence feel thicker. Somewhere in the back of your mind, the hum of fluorescent lights buzzes like a warning. Outside, the wind howls through the empty streets, and rain lashes the windows, blurring the world beyond. Staying in isolated hotels can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, the solitude offers respite from the chaos. On the other, it sharpens every sound and shadow into a possible threat. Studies show that unfamiliar surroundings heighten anxiety, making the mind more prone to interpret benign noises as danger. You rub your arms, fighting the chill that's creeping up your spine. Local stories speak of secret packages, cursed objects, and unwanted watchers. Some say that those who carry mysterious parcels into lonely places become targets of unseen forces, their every move tracked by eyes that never blink. You smile wryly. Great, just what you needed. But you can't shake the feeling that tonight the hotel's usual emptiness feels less like peace and more like a trap. Experts still debate whether paranoia in these settings is just the brain's response to unfamiliarity, or if it taps into something more primal, an instinctual awareness of danger lurking just beyond perception. You glance at the package again, wondering if it holds answers or only more questions. The room feels colder. Footsteps echo faintly in the hall outside, too soft to be human, too deliberate to be random. You rise slowly, heart pounding as you prepare for whatever may come. In places like this, surrounded by the quiet and the rain, the line between reality and nightmare blurs. You hope you're ready. The storm crashes around you like a living thing, wind howling through the trees and rain hammering the windows with relentless fury. You've been working from home trying to meet a deadline, but the growing tempest outside demands your attention. Flickering lights add a stuttering rhythm to the night, and somewhere deep down, you feel a gnawing unease. Storms have always inspired superstition. Some say a storm's howl is the earth's way of warning us, a time when spirits are restless and the veil between worlds thins. Folklore often speaks of the storm knock, a sudden, urgent banging at the door during a tempest, heralding a visitor not always welcome. You pause, heart tightening as a knock sounds, sharp and insistent. Science explains that power flickers during storms because of electrical surges and weakened lines, but that doesn't soothe the primal part of you, the part that remembers old stories passed down about storms bringing danger as well as cleansing. Experts still debate whether such knocks are coincidences, psychological responses to heightened anxiety, or something stranger altogether. You hesitate, fingers trembling before moving toward the door. Who could possibly be out in weather like this? Then you remember the package you ordered. Maybe it's just the delivery driver, soaked to the bone and hoping for shelter. You chuckle, softly, trying to calm your nerves. The door creaks open and a shadowy figure steps inside. The air thickens instantly with tension. You grip your rolling pin, your makeshift weapon, but the intruder is ready, twisting your wrist and forcing you to drop it. His eyes gleam with something wild, dangerous, a predator's hunger veiled behind a smile. You warn him to stay back. Voice braver than you feel. He laughs, a harsh grating sound, mocking your resistance. This isn't just a home invasion. It's a test of wills, a battle fought in silence and storm. Outside, the rain pounds harder, the storm's fury matching your rising fear. But deep inside, a spark of defiance burns bright. You're not alone tonight, and this fight is far from over. The barn's interior greets you with dim, dusty air and shafts of pale moonlight cutting through cracks in the wooden walls. Old farm equipment leans against the walls, rusted and forgotten, but it's the floor that commands your attention. Fresh footprints pressed into the thick dust. They're human, clear and recent, and definitely not yours. Rural barns can harbor more than just animals. They're spaces steeped in history, and sometimes whispered secrets. People tell stories of wandering spirits and restless souls caught between seasons, their movements leaving traces for those brave enough to notice. The fresh footprints disturb the quiet, hinting that you are not the only living presence here tonight. Experts still debate whether such signs are physical evidence of supernatural visitors or if they stem from natural explanations, other humans, animals, or even illusions caused by light and dust. But there's no denying the eerie feeling settling in your gut as you scan the shadows. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the darkness. A man, wild and unkempt, eyes wide and feverish with manic intensity. His beard is ragged, and his voice holds a desperate edge as he accuses you of being one of them, sent to drag others back. Confusion and fear knot your stomach. You insist you're just a camper, but his gaze narrows. He lunges toward you, frantic, desperate for something you don't understand. You pull back, heart racing, as the barn seems to close in around you. The night outside presses against the thin walls, and the rain's steady rhythm feels distant and muted. You laugh softly, a nervous, ghostly chuckle, as the madness of the moment sinks in. The line between hunter and hunted blurs, and you wonder what truths hide beneath the fevered accusations in the dark. The park is almost empty, save for the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant hum of city lights swallowed by the night. You're jogging steadily, your breath forming soft clouds in the cool air, muscles warmed but nerves on edge. The rain has stopped, leaving slick patches on the pavement that gleam under the street lamps. It's the kind of night where the ordinary feels just a little off. Running at night in isolated parks is a familiar routine for many, and studies show it can clear the mind and ease anxiety. Yet the brain's vigilance rises as darkness deepens, tuning into shadows and sounds you might ignore by day. Folklore warns of silent watchers, tall, shadowy figures who appear without warning, never speaking, never moving, but always present. They're said to watch those who tread alone, especially when the rain has just ceased. Experts still debate whether such figures are hallucinations born from the brain's pattern-seeking nature or glimpses of something otherworldly. You speed up slightly, feeling a prickle on the back of your neck. Your footsteps echo off the empty benches and darkened pathways. Then you see it, a silhouette emerging from the mouth of a nearby alley. Tall, menacing, and impossibly still. The figure doesn't chase, it simply stands, its breathing slow and even. Your grip tightens around the metal pipe you carry for safety, heart thudding in sync with the fading raindrops. You call out, voice trembling. The figure remains silent, a looming presence made of shadow. The park feels colder, the night heavier. You know better than to wait here, but the way forward is swallowed in darkness. You chuckle softly to yourself, a ghost of a smile. Some nights the watchers are just shadows, and some nights, well, you hope tonight isn't one of those. The thin curtains flutter slightly as a soft breeze slips through the cracked window. You peer closer, noticing deep scratches, frantic, desperate marks, marring the dingy paint on every wall of your motel room. Some are short and jagged, others long and deliberate, like someone or something was clawing its way out, or in. The ceiling isn't spared. Even there, the marks crawl like spider legs across the peeling paint. Motel rooms in quiet towns often have histories darker than their faded carpets. Psychologists suggest that being in unfamiliar, transient spaces can heighten feelings of vulnerability, making any odd detail loom large. You wonder how many others have passed through this room and felt the same creeping unease. Local legends tell of restless spirits trapped in motels, bound to the rooms by tragedy or unfinished business. They say these scratches are the mark of those spirits, invisible but desperate to be seen or heard. You let out a small, nervous chuckle, the kind that sounds more like a shiver. Experts still debate whether such markings are signs of supernatural activity or simply the handiwork of previous guests, their frustrations etched into walls. Yet something about the pattern and placement feels too deliberate, too alive. You run your fingers gently along one of the deeper scratches, the roughness pressing cold against your skin. Every night, when the motel settles into silence, you hear a soft scratching just outside your bedroom door. You tell yourself it's nothing, just the building settling or the wind playing tricks. But sometimes you catch a glimpse in the mirror, something else looking back, eyes glowing faintly in the dark, a smile too wide and too many teeth. The room feels smaller, the night darker. You don't stay in motels much anymore, and if you do, you sleep with one eye open, listening for the scratching that never really stops. Your car hums quietly as you drive down the dark highway, the rain falling steadily and blurring the edges of the world beyond the windshield. You glance in, the rearview mirror, and freeze. A car behind you with no headlights, its dark silhouette pressing closer in the night. Your pulse quickens. This is no ordinary night drive. Driving alone on rural roads after dark carries risks everyone knows. Studies show that isolation combined with exhaustion can amplify fear responses. twisting ordinary events into nightmares. You remind yourself to stay calm, but the steady, unblinking shadow of the car behind feels like a living thing, watching, waiting. Folklore warns of the headlightless driver, a ghostly presence said to follow travelers into the darkness. Its intentions unknown but never good. You let out a breathy chuckle, trying to lighten the heavy air, though the joke tastes bitter in your mouth. Experts still debate whether such encounters are real phenomena or the brain's way of warning against fatigue and danger on lonely roads. Your fuel gauge hovers just above empty, a cruel reminder that escape isn't guaranteed. You push the accelerator, the engine whining in protest as you climb the hill, heart pounding. The car behind closes the distance, its silent presence relentless. You fumble with your keys at the gas station entrance, desperate to get inside, to lose this ghost in the night. But when you glance back, the car is gone, vanished as mysteriously as it appeared. You brush off the encounter as paranoia, brought on by exhaustion and too many late-night true crime stories. But deep down, you know the road ahead is no longer just asphalt and rain. It's a game of cat and mouse, and you're the mouse. The attic is thick with dust and silence, the air heavy with forgotten memories and secrets best left undisturbed. You sift through old boxes and faded photographs, the weight of years pressing down on you. Then your hand brushes against something cold and metallic, an antique radio, its Art Deco design gleaming faintly in the dim light. On a whim, you plug it in, half expecting nothing, but the radio hums to life and suddenly the room shifts. Swirling lights and floating symbols fill the air, like a three-dimensional projection of the universe itself. In the center, hooded figures stand silently, their faces obscured. But then one lowers its hood, revealing your mother's face, eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. And at their feet lies your grandfather, motionless. Attics in old houses are repositories of history and mystery, places where past and present intertwine. Psychologists note that these spaces often trigger vivid memories and dreams, blending reality with imagination in ways that can be both comforting and unsettling. The eerie vision before you blurs the line even further. Folklore often speaks of ancestral spirits communicating through relics and echoes in forgotten places. There, messages wrapped in symbols and shadows. You let out a soft, ghostly chuckle, marveling at the strange beauty and terror of this moment. Experts still debate whether such experiences are psychological phenomena, products of grief and memory, or genuine supernatural encounters. You reach out trembling to touch the radio's cool surface, feeling a connection that transcends time. The rain outside patters softly against the roof, a gentle counterpoint to the swirling visions. You realize that some secrets don't stay buried and some stories are never truly over. Slow now. You let your breath lengthen and soften, the rain's gentle rhythm a balm to your restless thoughts. The shadows and whispers of tonight's stories begin to fade, retreating like the tide drawn back from a quiet shore. You are safe here, in this moment, wrapped in the comfort of darkness and the steady, soothing patter outside your window. Imagine the forest's stillness settling around, you the deep green turning to gentle gray under the rain's soft touch. The footsteps, the eyes, the whispers, they grow distant like echoes fading into a dream. Your heartbeat slows, syncing with the soft tapping of droplets racing down the glass. There's a warmth in your chest, a quiet strength born of having faced the unknown, if only in story. The night is vast, but you are not alone. The watchers remain in their shadows waiting, but you are safely tucked away, held by the calm of this moment. Let your eyelids grow heavy. Feel the blankets wrap you in their soft embrace. Let the night carry you gently away from shadows and scratches, toward peaceful dreams and quiet stars. The rain continues its lullaby, steady and kind. And as you drift, remember this. The night is full of stories, but you are the storyteller of your own dreams. End of script. Sweet dreams.